Casper David Friedrich was born on September 5, 1774, and died May 7, 1840. He was born in Greifswald in northern Germany. Friedrich began to study art with Johann Gottfried Quistrup in 1790. Wanderer above the sea of fog, he adopted the generic conventions of landscape painting to the demands of creative self-expression. He was a landscape painter of the German Romantic movement. He is considered the most important painter. He is best known for his allegorical landscapes. His primary interest as an artist was the contemplation of nature. He was a leading painter of German Romanticism. The cross on the mountain shows he has taken up Gothic style. After experiencing his mother's death at a young age, he was obsessed with death. He was misunderstood in his time and struggled to gain full comprehension from the public. In the morning in the Rosenberg, he was imbued with deep religious mysticism, so his cross is exaggerated in height and comes with a corpse. The landscape takes on a symbolic force, perhaps the dawn of redemption. He often drew works mainly naturalistic and topographical with India ink, watercolor, and spot ink. He could transform a landscape into something bigger. He changed the face of landscape painting with his intense and emotional focus on nature. He demonstrated piety to God, the diminished strength of man in the larger scale of life, and great emotion. In Chalk Cliff on Rügen, a human figure is facing the deep and almost infinite space. Friedrich begins to understand the purpose of his art made him an outsider because they were profoundly misunderstood. In his early years, he experiments with mediums. In his middle years, he added more figures to his landscapes. In his advanced years, he no longer displayed the beauty of God through his landscapes. Friedrich now focused on death. He became obsessed with the afterlife, and he was gifted as an observer and interpreter of landscape, expressing nature through the eye of a pious believer. Friedrich's fusion of observation with piety resulted in pictures of expressive power and spiritualism. The monastery graveyard in the snow was destroyed during the air raids of World War II, and there is only a black and white photograph. The absence of the color does not affect the artwork. Abbey in the Oakwood. Friedrich repeats variations of it a number of times. It shows a huge Gothic ruin of an Abbey church in the middle of winter. It stands for many things: death, faith, nature reclaiming its place. An inspiring quote from Friedrich: "The artist should paint not only what he sees before him, but also what he sees within him." Friedrich's paintings are hypnotic and memorable, evoking powerful longing. The rise of Nazism in the early 1930s again saw a reassurance in Friedrich's popularity, but this was followed by a sharp decline as his paintings were by association with the Nazi movement. Interpreted as having a nationalistic aspect, it was not until the late 1970s that Friedrich regained his reputation as an icon of the German Romantic movement and a painter of international importance. Symbolist and surrealist artists came to reference Friedrich's artwork as a great source of inspiration and foundation for their respective movements, and they frequently drew ideas from his work. Sea of Ice. The source of inspiration for the painting was the Polar Expedition. It is often called the Wreck of Hope. The Sea of Ice is seen as a relation to Friedrich's traumatic experience. Stages of Life has 5 people and 5 respective ships that symbolically represent different life stages and the passing of life. It's probably Friedrich's most obviously allegorical and symbolic painting. Mountain Landscape with Rainbow is a painting that was inspired by Friedrich's travels through Germany and along the shores of Baltic Sea. It is a 100% hand-painted oil painting reproduction on canvas. The Romantics believed that any artist who wanted to explore his own emotions and necessarily to stand outside of the throng of money-making, political, grim-making, and urban noise in order to assert and maintain their position.